The big move of the NHL draft really happened hours before, as the Montreal Canadiens acquire Noah Dobson from the New York Islanders in exchange for Emil Heineman, 16th and 17th overall picks in the 2025 draft. This is a home run pickup for Montreal. I wasn't looking at their blue line as something that they needed to address, I thought, in this season or in this offseason, but this, oh my gosh, does this make sense? And does it give them a difference maker? Like, you look now on this team, you have Dobson, Reinbacher on your right side, you have Hudson, Gooley, and Xhekaj on the left. That's the defense the dreams are made of. And that is not even factoring in, like, Logan Mailloux, who, but Mike Matheson, who now everybody wants to trade. Like, they have a lot of pieces that make you feel very, very interested in this team. This is, I love the forward group. This is a phenomenal now core that you have on this blue line. This Montreal team is ready to take a significant step going into next season. And then they follow it up with a couple of interesting draft picks on day two with Jarofsky and with Pickford. So a good weekend for Montreal. For the Islanders, it's a tough blow. Like, I get that they got a couple of pieces back and they took a home run swing and it didn't work. We talk about that in the other draft video that we did, but to give up on a 25-year-old that you landed with a draft pick you got for Travis Hamonic and he turns into a star is really difficult. If he wasn't going to stay, he wasn't going to stay, but this seems like a big piece to be heading out regardless of what direction your organization is going. They tried to flip these into the picks that they got into a bigger move to go up and get Hagens. That would have made this at least a bit more bearable. But this is a prime example of a trade where 4/4 doesn't equal $1, or 3/3 doesn't equal whatever in this case. This is just, it's not close. I don't think any of the pieces, they drafted well out of them, and we talked about that in the other video, but they aren't going to come close, I think, to all averaging out to be what Dobson ends up being. As far as the draft goes, the Flyers stay the Flyers. As soon as Porter Martone was announced as a pick for the Flyers, I think everyone collectively went, oh, well, he's absolutely a Philadelphia Flyer. Yes, he is. It makes so much sense. You think the exact same thing with Nesbitt as well. And look, like, I don't know if either of these guys ends up being like a superstar or like a major difference maker or anything like that. But this feels like the type of draft that when things turn around in Philadelphia, you look back on as the like, oh man, that draft really helped turn the tide. Even the last couple of years. But like both of those guys feel like they fit the style of what the Philadelphia Flyers traditionally are. And I think they did a great job with that. They made a couple of moves to go up and get, in this case, Nesbitt. I actually don't mind it. I don't think you are getting someone of that caliber at 22 or at 30. And so to package that up and move up, I saw some people critiquing it. I liked it. I think it makes a ton of sense if you're the Philadelphia Flyers. I am a little cautious on Brady Martin going to the Predators. If it hits the best case scenario, that is the type of player that cultures are built off of and the type of player that fan bases just absolutely love. But like we saw Sam Bennett here in Calgary, yes, it is going very well right now out in Florida, but we saw it doesn't always, sometimes it takes a little bit of time for that to entirely click. And so like when you are doing the just dog type of a thing, it's different going from junior to the A to now the NHL. There are gaps along the way. And so look, if it works, that's great. If this one hits, then this will be like okay, that guy can play in the Stanley Cup final that we just watched. That's the best case scenario, is he can be an impact player in a championship series. But I do sometimes worry about, well, he has that one trait that one guy in that one series had, so we're going to take him. I worry about taking those guys early in drafts. Anyway, but the boomer bust pick of the weekend was Roger McQueen going to the Anaheim Ducks. The talent is all there. And like if you just put on the tape of this kid, my word, that this is a top 5 pick that the Anaheim Ducks just got. And so the injury things, they can always go a couple of different ways. It's a back injury, so that is really concerning Like those tend to not just, oh, and look at that, now I'm better. Like that tends to be something that lingers with you for forever, especially if you are a 6'5" human, as someone who is close to that. Obviously, he is in better shape, but those are things that can just kind of stick with you. And if you've ever had any kind of a back problem, you know it affects basically everything you do as a human. So that is a little bit on the frustrating side and a little bit on the risky side. But if it hits, then unbelievable. And so we have had these times where you look at it and you go, well, yeah, they drafted a kid with a back injury. What did they expect was going to happen? But we also have times where you look back on a draft like 18 months from now, and it's like, how did he go there? He was, oh, that's right, he had a back thing. That hasn't really flared up. Hey, as he's the second line center on the number 2 team in the Pacific Division, you know? So, like, there is a really, really good opportunity here for Anaheim. It's the type of boomer bust pick that you can make, I think, when you have a young core that is already looking like it's going to be pushing for contention now in the Pacific Division, and with a team that is expected to be aggressive, albeit with options that are less so. But they would have been in big on Marner, and I wonder if there is now an overpay coming for an Ehlers or for a Besser from the Ducks, because they feel like they're ready to go all in. The Pittsburgh Penguins take a bit of a reach. I like Ben Kindle a lot. I think the world of him as a player, and I think if it works, you see all the ways that it makes sense. But honestly, when we were talking about it from a Flame standpoint, it wasn't a high degree of likelihood, but there was a couple of times, like there were some mocks that had him in the second round. And so when we were talking about like, hey, who could realistically be there for the Flames, it was a name that you at least thought about at 32. Like, look, if there's a slide, it could be him and it could get down to 32. So the fact that he went before the Flames picked at 18 was really surprising. I thought Calgary was going to have to make a decision on the hitman player. You like a lot of the traits and a lot of the characteristics. And I have said before, like, he is a touch on the undersized side of things. And so you do, like I just said, with the Preds pick, with Martin, that being the undersized, just uber competitive guy, your results vary when you go from junior to the A to the National Hockey League. Like that gets harder as you go along. I think he has the hockey IQ, the sense, and just the competitive nature to be able to, whatever boxes he needs to check, he's going to be able to do it. But I don't know if, like, you are banking on so much best case scenario when you're drafting a kid like that, where they did at 11. So I think it is I think that it is like one where if best case scenario hits, this looks like a golden pick, but it has to, for this to look even like a good selection. They make a couple of more moves with Zanon and Horkoff as well. And it's funny, like it's Kindle and Nesbitt are one pick apart. Now, there's no world where like you make the trade with Nesbitt and like you make the pick and then are able to make this trade with the Flyers because that's who the Flyers wanted. But just in that world, you could have made that pick with Nesbitt, and if you could trade down again, there is still a chance you got Kindle later. But I see, obviously you see why they didn't. Obviously that scenario requires a couple of logistical leaps along the way. If you're looking for high-end talent, there is an opportunity to get it there, but it is more likely than not that they drafted a middle six kid. And again, I like him a lot. It sucks that I have to like talk about it this way. But like going into this draft, like he was someone that I was expecting someone to get him at like 20. It's like, man, they got one of the steals the first round. I really like this kid. And then you see you go at 11. It's like, well, not that much. So we'll see. Things are always changing around at Couch Potato Diary. So make sure you follow me on social media. I'm at Primetime Klein, basically everywhere. A couple more quick hitters here. The Detroit Red Wings take a big shot with Bear at 13. You like all of the different pieces that he can put together. The mild tear in the Achilles, that concerns you for sure. We've seen a lot in hockey that can affect things now. So there are obviously some concerns that go along with that after watching the basketball playoffs the way that it has. But everything there, it feels like a really good value pick for the Red Wings, and just another smart kind of stocking the cupboards move, as this team is another one that looks to get competitive. The Sabres have a bit of an interesting draft. They go with size and right shot defensemen with Maturka and Bedkowski. I would have understood if they would have gone McQueen or Bear because of the need for forward. I still think it's a strong move. Like right shot D is basically an organizational need at this point. It seems like Rasmus Anderson to Buffalo maybe isn't going to be the dream that a lot of us had. And so you try to maneuver things in their way. And so they have gone with size and right shot defensemen. So I think it's a couple interesting picks for the Sabres. Jake O'Brien, I think it's a really solid ad for this Kraken group. They are waiting for one of their forwards to really hit in a big time way. Beniers did for a moment there, but they're going to need either this kid O'Brien, who feels like it's a really solid potential ad, or Wright, or someone to hit pretty soon for this group to start to take the steps that they want. I really liked what the Vancouver Canucks did with Coates. I know that there are going to be some concerns about the offensive production going from the dub to the NHL, but again, I just feel like the high motor, the high compete, and all of those things, he's going to be someone who finds his way into a middle six role, I think, for the Vancouver Canucks, and be just a real productive depth member for this team. And I think as they go in all sorts of directions, look, I got quite a few Canucks fans upset at me about the Evander Kane one, so this is a different one. I think you did well with this pick. So kudos to you on that one. And lastly, Brustevich going to the Kings. Henry Brustevich. I feel like it's a great value pick for the Kings, and a very, very just kind of smart. We're at the end of the first round. Yeah, pluck that kid out there. That feels like the type of like lottery ticket that you take at the back part of the first round. There are a few other big headlines from the NHL draft. Covered those on Couch Potato Diary on Monday.